The Gun Violence Archive, a nonprofit organization documenting gun violence in this country, counted 22 mass shootings this weekend alone, resulting in 20 people killed and 126 injured. Yesterday, President Biden, frustrated with what he calls an epidemic of gun violence, called on Congress to pass gun control reforms banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. The president is asking Congress to do it because, well, he can't. In fact, at the executive level, there isn't much he can do at this point. On the state level, however, that story changes. Governors can do more, and at least some Democrats are trying to. In Illinois, earlier this year, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed legislation banning assault weapons and the sale of high-capacity magazines. Republicans took him to the Supreme Court for it, but the justices declined to intervene. Soon after, Maryland acted too. 2 months ago, Governor Wes Moore, a Democrat, signed a law making it illegal to carry a concealed handgun in certain public areas, including schools, government buildings, and medical facilities. Joining us now is Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Governor, thank you for being with us. You recently signed legislation to curb gun violence in your state. Just this past weekend, multiple gun-related incidents, including a mass shooting. What more can be done in Maryland at the local level to prevent these incidents?
A lot more can be done, and a lot more will be done. I tell you, my weekend started early on Saturday morning at around 2:30 in the morning when the mayor of Baltimore called me to tell me about the mass casualty, the mass shooting that took place in the city of Baltimore. And then I proceeded to spend my weekend coordinating both federal, state, and local responses to it, making sure that we are both putting all state resources that we can towards making sure that people are held to account and there will be justice for these crimes, and also making sure that the communities are getting what they need. I spent my weekend working with first responders and doctors who were literally saving lives all weekend long. I spent my weekend working with local officials and working in communities and spending time with the people inside the community. That's how I spent my 4th of July weekend. But here's what we also know. Over a dozen other governors in this country were doing the same thing. We've got an absolute crisis on our hands. And so when we think about what it is that we can do, we need for the federal government to act. We need Congress to act on this, but we're not waiting. And so when we think about the measures that Maryland has done to do things like raising the age to 21 for people to purchase a weapon, for making sure that a person with a history of mental illness and a history of violence cannot purchase a weapon. But we know, even though, while we're proud of the bills that I signed along those lines, it's still not going to be enough. We have got to get these illegal guns out of our neighborhoods and off of our streets. We've got to make sure that violent offenders there's actually consequences to that. And we've got to be able to work across state lines with our partners. Because, for example, in the city of Baltimore, 65% of the guns that have been confiscated in the city of Baltimore are not from the state of Maryland. So we've got to be able to work with our regional partners to be able to address something that is an absolute national crisis right now.
When you talk about the limits to what can be done at the state level and the action that needs to come from Congress, I wonder what you believe the pressure points that governors like yourself can hit to get Congress to act. And if you find any appetite among your Republican colleagues, Republican governors, if they are interested in bringing that fight to the federal government.
Yes, the thing that we know is we've got to depoliticize this. This is not a Democratic or a Republican issue, because this is hitting all of our communities. While I was working closely with the mayor of Baltimore, who's a Democrat, during the weekend to be able to respond and make sure that our communities were getting what they needed, and also making sure we can bring these people to justice, the ones who were responsible for the shooting. This morning and all throughout the day, I was also working with the Republican county executive of Wacomico County, because we just had another mass shooting in Salisbury, in the state of Maryland, in the Eastern Shore. So this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. We are watching states. We are watching jurisdictions around the country. We're watching governors, both Democrat and Republicans, that are dealing with this issue. And what we collectively need is not just a sense of cooperation between the state and the locals and between states, but that's the type of leadership and that's the type of coordination that we have to be able to see in Congress as well.
Governor, I have about a minute left, but I do want to ask you, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill that went into effect Saturday, allowing people to legally carry a firearm without a permit. I wonder how much it complicates your gun safety efforts when other governors, DeSantis, one example, are moving in the opposite direction.
It absolutely complicates it because we know that the work that we are doing here in the state of Maryland, we need to have our partners, our other governors who are also on the same sheet when it comes to being able to make sure that their communities are safe. But I also know that the work that we are doing here in the state of Maryland, when we are focusing on things like making sure that a person cannot and will not bring a firearm into places like government buildings and in places like nurseries, because there's no reason for it. And so while that might be the direction of other governors, I know that to keep the people safe, it means doing things like what we're doing here in the state of Maryland, which is not just making sure we're putting common sense gun laws together here in the state of Maryland, but also making sure that we're addressing the fact that there are 300 million guns in the United States, and those are just the ones that we know about. That doesn't include the ghost guns and the unregistered guns and the illegal guns that continue to flood into Maryland communities. So in Maryland, we are going to make sure that we're going to keep our communities safe and work in partnership to put common sense gun laws that can work to make sure that our communities can thrive and our children can grow.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Governor, thank you.